Good afternoon, everybody. Very nice. Thank you, Nastya. Thank you, Nina. Nina, you are here. Nastya, thank you. Thank you so much. 3 человека. Okay, it's okay. Okay. It's no problem. Good afternoon, everybody. Last time we talked about the 19th century in the English literature, or of the English literature, yeah? And we enumerated Walter Scott, Jane Austen, Charles Dickens, Bronte sisters, Thomas Hardy, Lewis Carroll. And now look at the slide and you'll see Robert Stevenson. It's the classic pirate adventure story. I'm talking about the Treasure Island that was written by Robert Stevenson in 1883. And of course, it was the great success right after the printing the book. And it is still considered to be the ever-coming story of the teenagers. And even the grown-up people can get the idea about life and death situations and take some moral lessons. What is so prominent about the novel The Treasure Island? The novel introduced numerous concepts, and they have become widely associated with pirates. So we have the stereotype of one-legged seaman, black-sailed ships. Everybody knows about the treasure maps that are marked with X. Everybody remembers the parrots yelling. Everybody knows about frightening black spots. And obviously, the novel Treasure Island gave countless imitations. For example, Pirates of the Caribbean series. Stevenson was attracted to the romance of adventure and exotic countries, and obviously he made his readers to love that. What are the traits of his novels? The main trait of his novel is that the novel is full of passions, it's full of thrilling sensations, and of course it's full of novelty. And throughout his novels, the author tried to create a new and better reality. If you look at the slide, I have mentioned that Robert Stevenson is regarded to be the neo-romanticism. Neo-romanticism was a trend of literature that happened at the end of the 19th century. And the writers of that trend turned to the past, or they tried to describe exotic travels and adventures. If you do like the adventures, and you do like about something that is extraordinary, it can be advised to read the novel Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Странная история доктора Джекила and Mr. Hyde, да? Because in this particular novel, the author depicts the dual personality of a person. And the person appeared to be the monster, with the rather logical result. So it's some kind of idea for your home assignment, if you want to. Let's move on to the second author, Oscar Wilde. As the writer, as the person, he received a very good education, both at Trinity College in Dublin and at Oxford University. And after his graduation, he began writing. What's more, he began his lectures. If you look at the slide, you will notice that that era was famous for the aesthetic movement. And Oscar Wilde was the leader of that movement. Let's enumerate his beautiful poems that he published in 1881. In 1888, he wrote fairy tales, The Happy Prince and Other Tales. And in 1891, he wrote his novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray. And after that, he became a famous dramatist. So he's famous not only because of his fairy tales and his novel, but for his comedies. If you look at the slide, you will see a number of his famous comedies. For example, Lady Windermere's Fan, A Woman of No Importance, An Ideal Husband, The Importance of Being Earnest, all of them are very often staged, not only in England, but everywhere. He's famous by his only novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray. It's all about the selfishness, vanity, and corruption of English high society. The novel is about the young man who purchases eternal youth at the expense of his own soul. The publication of that novel was the scandal. And that particular novel was used as evidence against the author himself when he was tried and convicted in 1895 on charges related to the homosexuality. The novel became a classic of English literature, and logically, it was adapted into a number of films. One of them received 3 Academy Award nominations. Let's move on to Rudyard Kipling. If you think about Rudyard Kipling, you will always remember him as the short story writer, poet, and novelist. He's famous for his tales and poems of British soldiers in India, and of course the tales for children. His poems and stories were spread and very popular in the late 19th and early 20th century. But after the First World War, his reputation suffered. Because he was regarded as jingoistic imperialist, chauvinistic. He began his writing in 1896 by the rather famous recessional Hymn ob Отпуска. And from that period of his life, he tried to give rhetorical ideas throughout his writings. The Russian people knew Rudyard Kipling by his famous Jungle Book, and Gangadin. The Jungle Book was published in two parts. The first one was published in 1894, and the second was published in 1895. I'm not going to tell you about Mowgli, because I think that everybody knows about that. I would like to pay your attention to his famous inspirational poem, If. But before that, I need to tell you that at the age of 32, Rudyard Kipling was the highest paid writer in the world. What's more, he was the youngest ever recipient of the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1907. After the death of his daughter and the son, the Kiplings lived on a quiet villa in England, and at that period of time, Kipling wrote his famous poem If. I don't have it. I don't have it. I'm going to put it in the slide because to give some remarks. Okay, you have 5 minutes to read the poem and find the line that you like and write your opinion. Here in the chat right away. So all in all, you have 10 minutes for that. So you have the poem by Rudyard Kipling, If. Find the line that is rather important for you or for your inner world and write what you think about this particular line. It's very nice that, Nastya, you are writing something already. I'm waiting for Gazelle, Dasha, Marina, Alita, Nastya, Оля, Valeria, Nastya. Write what you think. Кристина, Настя, Нина, Юля, Арина. Настя, very nice. Give up, yes, and drop out, yes. Yes, it's very inspiring, yes. Thank you, Настя. It's so great that you feel it like this.
Алло? Здравствуйте, меня слышно?
Nikita, yes, I hear you pretty well.
Я немного запутал, что у нас пара, извините. Сейчас включился.
It's okay. Nikita, I have a little assignment for everybody. You have the famous and inspiring poem by Rudyard Kipling, and it's in the chat. We have the Russian variant and the English variant, and you find the line or maybe the paragraph that you like a lot and just write your comment on it.
All right.
What do you think?
All right. All right. Let's see.
For example, Nastya has given the line and lows and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. Yeah, your loss. Nothing should be said about your loss. Very good. Hold on. Yes. Thank you, Nastya. Yes. Willpower, yes. The will. Okay. Hold on, yeah. Very nice. It's so great that you do understand every detail here and just feel it in this way. Okay, you have 7 more minutes, and then we will go and move on to something else. Don't look too good, not talk too wise. Alita, I think yes, it's your motto because you always do that. You always try to be very sincere. Very good. Yes, very good. Everywhere out. Everywhere. That's true. That's true. Very good. And it's so prominent that you choose something that is very different from the previous one. Okay. Oh, Christina. it's so difficult to remain honest and confident in any situation, yeah, and to remain down to every person, yeah. Yeah, it's just the ideal thing, Christina, yes. Yes, it's true, yes, it's true, yes. Alina, do you think it's possible to meet with triumph and disaster the same? It is the motto, of course. Hmm. Of course, you need to have something inside of you. And this is the person that you are the person that face. Think you can face everything. Yes, very good. Hmm. Yes, it's very difficult. It's not the question of of difficulty or not. It's just if you have it or you don't have it. Of course, you can grow in everything. Yes, just stick to yes something very strong. Hmm. Hmm. That is very true. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. So the last words of the poem, Nina. Okay. Yeah, especially that we have the conflict, and the man is not the universe. Yeah. So we need to remind other people about this poem. Hmm. We have 2 more minutes for writing, and then we are moving. If you can dream your master. Ah. Hmm. Of course, it's just human nature to be overwhelmed by something, by some emotions, by some dreams, by some ideas, and of course, it's the strength that you have inside or you don't have. You can control yourself or you can't control yourself. Yeah, that's true. Dreams cloud your mind. Hmm. Because sometimes people are too obsessive about something. Yeah, that's true. Hmm. Agreed to every word that you have written. Okay. Thank you so much for your participation, because I know that you do feel the mood and you have the ability to see what's happening or what is between the lines. It's great that you are future specialists. Okay, I'm going to upload a new presentation for right now. Thank you for everybody who participated. Dasha, you are writing something. I see that you are writing something. If you can. You have to begin again and again each time because it's more and more difficult. Yes, that's true. That's very true. Yeah. Of course, not only triumphs. Yeah, triumphs. Of course, the failures. The failures are also in our lives. And you need to have the strength to begin and to do over again. Yes, it's very good. It's very bad that you have experienced some bad and difficult times. Very sorry for that. Thank you for writing, Dasha. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Because you share your emotions. Okay. Okay. Oi. Let's move on to the 20th century. The early 20th century has its own peculiarity, and it is the critical realism. So it began in the 19th century and it was still in the 20th century. If you look at the slide, you will find the three particular names. And we can call them the landmark of the realism of the 20th century. They are George Bernard Shaw, John Galsworthy, and Herbert Wells. And I even marked to you for your attention that their works were focused on something that was very specific. For example, Bernard Shaw focused his attention to the narrow-mindedness, hypocrisy, and stupidity John Galsworthy tried to penetrate into the psychological point of view of the character. Herbert Wells tried to focus on the future of mankind. And we still have the leading genre of the literature, and it is the novel. Burroughs Shaw was always a very active in everything he did, and he took part in the socialist movement. He was afraid of any revolutionary changes. That's why he was for the means of reforms. He began writing in 1879, and from 1879 up to 1883, he wrote his 5 long novels. They were rejected by all publishers. That's why Shaw decided to write the dramas. And not only dramas, but also the plays. So his first play was Widows' Houses. It was published in the first volume of his writings, and it was called Plays Unpleasant. Later he wrote Philanderer and Mrs. Warren's Profession. He tried to discuss social problems in his plays. And it's rather logical if he wrote the plays, he became the reformer of the theater, because all his plays were dramatic, they were critical, and they were realistic. What's more, he maintained the idea that art should serve social purposes. So he thought that the artist's function was to teach people, to teach. And the theater was the means of this correction of public morals. In 1895, he published some of his plays, and the title was already The Place Pleasant. If before it was The Place Unpleasant, now he gave the name Place Pleasant. And in that collection, you can find his famous play Arms and the Man of Destiny, and Candid. He didn't finish with those two volumes. He wrote the third volume, the volume of plays, I mean. The third volume was called The Three Plays for Puritans. If you look at the slides, you will see the information on the third volume. Caesar and Cleopatra, The Devil's Disciple, and Captain Brassbound's Conversion. They were all about hypocrisy of the English society. For the Russian people, he is very much famous for his wonderful play, Pygmalion. Maybe it sounds rather strange today, but at that time, in 1912, it was the scandal. The appearance of that play was a scandal. And the writing was rather vulgar. In 1925, Bernard Shaw received the International Nobel Prize for Literature. After that, his plays became more complex. And you can look at the slide and see the titles of the plays: The Apple Cart and Too True to Be Good. And his plays became rather political. For example, in The Apple Cart, the author touched upon the theme of the rivalry between the United States and England in the political arena. And, for example, in the play Too True to Be Good, the author focused on the decay of the bourgeois system. the critics analyzing his writings found out that every play was written in the response of his own point of view on this or that problem that happening in the society of that time. Also, Bernard Shaw made a sort of game out of his jokes and witty words. So he tried to choose the satire as a weapon to fight for his ideas. And by that, he carried on and developed the best traditions of critical realism in English literature. So that's why he is considered to be one of the three best writers of the critical realism in English literature. Let's move on to the second one, Herbert Wells. I have already mentioned that the author focused on the idea of the future of the mankind. He wrote novels, histories. He was famous for some philosophical books, and he had plenty of scientific works. If you look at the slide, you will see his famous works: The Time Machine, The Invisible Man, The War of the Worlds, The First Man in the Moon, The War That Will End War, Russia in the Shadows, The World of William Clissold, and many other novels. As he was the biologist by his studies, he had some scientific foresight, and it appeared to be in his writings. If you look at the slide, you will notice that, for example, the author describes warplanes in his novel, The War in the Air, in 1908. And they were used during the First World War. the author was writing about the A-bombs in his novel When the Sleeper Wakes in 1899, and in 30 years they appeared. One of his famous novels is Time Machine. It was published in 1895. The main thing was the struggle of the classes. It's rather difficult to compare his writings because every novel focused on something that was very specific. For example, The Invisible Man deals with the theme of loneliness of the scientists and the danger of science in the hands of individualists. The author ponders upon the problem that the scientist can turn into a savage and can commit horrible crimes. And sooner or later, he becomes a murderer. So the author underlines the tragedy of the achievements of science and that they can be used for very bad intentions. Let's move on to the third one, John Galsworthy. He wrote novels, dramas, short stories, and essays. He began writing in 1904, and his first notable work was The Island of Pharisees. The title was already the name to the English privileged classes, and the word is used about hypocritical people. If you look at the slide, you will see a number of his interesting novels. The Country House, Fraternity, The Freelance, and the author criticizes the aristocracy. He gained popularity by publishing his famous Forsyte Saga. It consists of 3 novels. The first is The Man of Property. The second, The Man of Property. And To Let. The Forsyte Saga is a great panorama of English life, and it was all about the English life in the period of 50 years. So we can say that this is the family chronicle. And I have already put the main idea of the novel, that for a person who is the slave of property, not only money, houses and land, but also his wife, the works of art and the talent of artists are also the property. And they can be bought right away. Every member in the Forsyte family, almost every member of the Forsyte family, feels great pleasure speaking about money. And for example, Soames Forsyte, the main character, when he sees anything, he immediately states the value of it. So he estimates people in the same way as he estimates things. And if a person can make a great deal of money, or if he is a person of importance, then he is deeply respected by Soames Forsyte. If not, he's been despised by him. Let's move to the next writer, and I think it will be the last talking today. Let's move to Somerset Maugham. He wrote novels, dramas, and short stories. As his profession was a doctor, he got great experience working in slums. And reflected his writings. For example, Liza of Lambeth, the realistic novel that was written in 1897, characterized the experience of the author. Cakes and Ale, that was written in 1930, was named by the author himself to be best of his books. The author was for the revolt of the individual against the accepted customs of society. And that theme fascinated the author and inspired him to write his famous novel, The Moor and Sixpence, in 1919. Okay, this is all for today. Let's find the things that you are supposed to bring and to do at home. For home assignment, you take Warren Stroll, John Galsworthy, Herbert Wells, and Somerset Maugham. Of course, you can take two more from the previous lecture. Robert Stevenson, Oscar Wilde, and Rudyard Kipling, if you are fond of some tales, for example, or the poem that we have already discussed. Okay, so your questions. I know that there are some people who haven't participated with their reports. I highly recommend you to participate because we don't have many practice classes left. Okay? Do you have any questions to me? Okay. If you don't have any questions, I'm giving you the list of the here. It's not here. Okay, you can be free then, if you don't have any questions.